Today we're going to be doing the uncommons for Lorcana Winterspell Limited. We already did the commons, so make sure you go back and check that out if you haven't watched it yet. Without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off, we've got Flit, a 1-cost 0/2 that produces 1 lore when questing, that says, when you play this character, move up to 1 damage from chosen character to chosen opposing character. This could help protect your character while harming your opponents, but only if you've already taken damage. I'm going to call it a C. Next up is Gantu, a 1-cost 3/3 that produces 1 lore when questing that says, when you play this character, choose and discard a card. Huge body and a good way to get lore and remove opponents' cards, but discarding cards is a decent downside. I'd call this a C, but it's a high C. Next up is Miko, a 1-cost 1/1 that produces 2 lore when questing. It has evasive, and at the end of your turn, if this character is exerted, choose and discard a card or banish him. If there was a card that said pay 1 ink and get 3 lore next turn, I'd rank it pretty high. This is close to that. Don't be afraid to let him die if you have good cards in your hands, but keep him alive if you can. I'm giving him an A. Next up is Rue, a 1-cost 1/1 that produces 1 lore when questing and says, exert. Put this character face down under one of your characters or locations with boost. Rue makes characters with boost a whole lot more viable in this set. And by proxy, if you can get a lot of Rue, your boost characters will go up a whole letter grade. I'm going to give Rue a B. Following Rue is Angel, and I'm now going to take this time to review all of the underdogs in this new set. If you haven't seen it yet, underdog is a keyword that says if this is your first turn and you're not the first player, you pay 1 less to play this character. Our first one is Angel, a 2-cost 2/2 that produces 1 lore when questing and has Singer 3. If this was just a cost 1 that sang for 3, I'd rank it a B, but most of the time, I think this will be a C. Next up is Christopher Robin, a 2-cost 1/3 with Underdog that produces 2 lore when questing. Now this can be a 1/3 that produces 2 lore for 1 ink, which is incredible. Probably one of the better dogs if you can get it to go off, but as a 2-drop, he's fine. Probably a B. Moving on to Judy Hops, a 2-cost 2/2 that produces 1 lore when questing with Underdog and Resist +1. A 2/2 for 1 ink with Resist +1 would probably be a high C, maybe even a low B, but for 2, I'm not sure it's good enough. Maybe a C at the best, but it's probably going to end up a D. Next up is the Liquidator, a 2-cost 4/2 with Underdog and Reckless. He acts as a removal spell here, being able to deal 4 damage to an exerted character. A fair amount of characters will trade with him, so I'd say he's a C. Then there's Splatter Phoenix, a 2-cost 1/2 that produces 2 lore when questing with Underdog and Ward. Her protection's pretty good, and you can guarantee that she'll be around to quest, so I'll give her a B. Our last underdog is the White Rabbit, a 2-cost 2/2 that produces 1 lore when questing and has Underdog and Evasive. The White Rabbit is going to produce less lore than Splatter Phoenix, and doesn't have the protection of War to keep him safe. He's also missing the high willpower of Christopher Robin. However, Evasive should keep him protected from challenges, so I'll give him a C. Next up, we're going to go back to our normal cards and start with Anna, a 2-cost 2/3 that says when you play this character, you may put a card from chosen player's discard on the bottom of their deck, and produces 1 lore when questing. Could be good if you're fighting a discard-heavy strategy, but probably not a great effect. Her body also doesn't make up for it, giving her a D. Next up is Darkwing Duck, a 2-cost 4/1 that produces 1 lore when questing with Ward. Now, Darkwing has gotten a lot of support in this set, and if you have a lot of that support, this guy's a B, especially if you get the Darkwing with Shift. But outside of that, this is a D. Following Darkwing Duck, we've got Grandmother Willow, a 2-cost uninkable 1/2 that produces 1 lore when questing. It also says, once during your turn, you may pay 1 less for the next character you play this turn. Making cards cheaper without ever having to exert herself makes it easy to protect her from being challenged. It's good that she can quest, but she probably never will. She's basically an item in this set, so I'm going to call her a low A. Next up is John Smith, a 2-cost 2/3 that produces 1 lore when questing, and says, at the end of your turn, if this character is exerted and none of your characters challenge this turn, gain 1 lore. He gives you extra lore, but you can't challenge the same turn. Could be a good way to get a huge swing of lore, but I'll call it a C. Then we've got Pudge, a 2-cost 1/3 that produces 1 lore when questing, and says, if you have a character named Lilo in play, you can play this character for free. Did you get a lot of Lilos in your set? Cool, this is a B. Did you not? Cool, this is a D. Let's move on to Scrooge McDuck, a 2-cost uninkable 3/3 with boost 1 that produces 1 lore when questing, and says, this character gets +1 strength and +1 willpower for each card under him. A pretty good way to protect himself for 1 mana every turn. Probably better in a dedicated boost strategy, but I'm not sure if there's really enough boost in this set. I'm going to give him a high C. After that, we've got Simba, a 2-cost 2/2 that produces 1 lore when questing. When you play this character, chosen opposing character gets -2 strength until the start of your next turn. It protects your guys, but there's a lot of better ways to do it. I'm probably going to give this one a D. Next up is Chief, a 3-cost 2/5 that produces 1 lore when questing. It says, exert. If an opposing character was banished in a challenge this turn, draw a card. You can't banish a character with him and then draw a card, and you can't banish the character outside of a challenge, to get the effect to go off at least. Probably a C at the best. Next up, we've got Daisy Duck, a 3-cost 2/2 that produces 3 lore when questing. Now she can get you 3 lore as long as you keep her alive, but will die in challenges pretty often. Gonna give her a C. Next up is Elsa, a 3-cost 2/2 that produces 2 lore when questing, and says, when you play this character, you may pay 2 less for the next location you play this turn. Now, there's not a lot of locations in the common and uncommon slot, so you're probably not going to get a whole lot in your deck. And paying 3 ink to reduce the cost of one of those locations you might get by 2 still puts you behind by 1 ink. I'd give it a low C unless you get a whole lot of locations somehow. Now let's move on to Gigi, a 3-cost 2/4 that produces 1 lore when questing and has alert, and while this character has no damage, she gets +2 strength. It challenges evasives and is a 4/4 until she challenges. That's a B in my book. Following Gigi is Gosselin Mallard, a 3-cost 1/3 that produces 2 lore when questing and says, when you play this character, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal an item card and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. She's good to find items, which is great in an item-heavy strategy. She also produces 2 lore when questing, and has 3 willpower. 3 willpower is about on rate for 3 cost. I'm going to call it a high C, low B. Next up is Jiminy Cricket, a 3-cost 3/4 that produces 1 lore when questing, and has boost 2, and whenever you put a card under this character, you may put a card from your discard into your inkwell face down and exert it. This is a good way to turn old cards into new resources. It's ramp without having to use up resources you can get in limited, and that is awesome. We're going to give him an A. Then there's Launchpad, a 3-cost 2/5 that produces 1 lore when questing and says, your locations gain resist +1. As I said before, there's not a whole lot of locations in this set. However, damage resistance might be the best way to help whatever little locations you can get. I'm going to give this one a low B. Next, we've got Nani, a 3-cost 3/3 that produces 1 lore when questing, and says, when you play this character, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal a character card with cost 2 or less and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. Now, looking for small characters to play is a great effect, especially because limited in this set looks like it'll mostly be small characters. I'm going to give this a B. Then we've got Pleakley, a 3-cost 2/4 that says, when you play this character, if you have another alien character in play, draw a card, and produces 1 lore when questing. If you happen to get a lot of aliens in your pool, this guy's going to be pretty okay. His body isn't bad, but honestly there's better cards most of the time. He's going to be a low C. Following Pleakley is Rabbit, a 3-cost 1/4 that produces 2 lore when questing and has Challenger +3. Rabbit becomes a 4/4 whenever he attacks, which is fine. Honestly though, I think GG is better. Gonna give him a C. Let's move on to Vixie, a 3-cost 1/3 that produces 2 lore when questing, and says, if you have a character named Todd in play, you pay 1 less to play this character. It also has Evasive. A 3-cost 1/3 that produces 2 lore with Evasive isn't that great. If you do get Todd, this character becomes a low B, but without him, it's a high D at best. Following Vixie is Alice, a 4-cost 4/4 that produces 1 lore when questing and has Boost 2, and whenever this character quests, put all cards from under her into your hand. This is an excellent way to get some card advantage in Limited. I'm going to call it a high B and would not be surprised if it was an A. Next is Chief Powhatan, a 4-cost 5/5 that produces 1 lore when questing and has Bodyguard, and this character can't challenge. A character with Bodyguard who can't challenge means you are extra incentivized to just quest with this guy. His body is also pretty impressive. I'm going to give him a B. After that, we've got Mulan, a 4-cost 4/3 that produces 2 lore when questing, and says, if you have a character in play with damage, you pay 1 less to play this character. And if you have a character in play with 5 strength or more, you pay 1 less to play this character. I am almost certain that the first part of Mulan is going to be played in every game, and on occasion, she'll be reduced down to 2 with that second part. I'm going to give her an A. Next up is Slushy, a 4-cost uninkable 5/5 that produces 1 lore when questing with Evasive. It's a huge body and hard to hit with Evasive, but he is uninkable, so I'm going to give him a low B. Next is Mushu, a 5-cost uninkable 3/2 that produces 3 lore when questing, and says, when you play this character, deal 2 damage to chosen character. Now, this is a decent way to deal that last bit of damage, especially on evasive characters, or characters that just refuse to quest. Afterward, he makes 3 lore, so we'll give him a B. Then we've got Terran, a 5-cost uninkable 5/5 with Rush that produces 1 lore when questing. It says, when you play this character, put up to 2 cards from chosen player's discard on the bottom of their deck in any order. Rush on a 5/5 isn't too bad, but I don't think his discard effect will have a big effect in the limited strategy. I'm going to give him a C. Let's follow that up with Copper, a 6-cost 8/5 with Rush and Reckless that does not produce lore. This guy is just straight removal. An 8/5 with Rush and Reckless is fine at 6, and is a great piece of removal if you're worried. If not, you can ink him, which I don't like to bring up except in these situations. This is a big guy who can either remove someone or ramp you up, so I'll call him a C. Sliding on in is Mickey Mouse, a 6-cost uninkable 4/6 with 2 lore. When you play this character, and when he leaves play, each opponent chooses and discards a card. Now, by 6 ink, your opponent probably won't have too many cards at hand, so even though his body is impressive, he's uninkable and doesn't have a very good effect, so I'm going to give him a D. Next up is Qian Po, a 7-cost 7/7 that produces 3 lore when questing. He can basically only be removed by like 3 guys on their own, which makes him a good way to get rid of an opponent's threats. Plus, he produces 3 lore. Gonna give him a low B. Lastly in our characters, we've got Li Shang, a 7-cost 9/5 that produces 2 lore when questing and has Shift 4. If you get another Li Shang, this guy is totally worth it, but I don't think he's at all very good at 7 for 9/5. I'm gonna give him a D, but if you can get that Li Shang, he's a B. Next up, we're going to be focusing on locations, such as Scrooge's Counting House, a 2-cost 4 willpower location that produces 1 lore every turn, with Boost 2, and this location gets +1 willpower and +1 lore for each card under it. Keep boosting it to make it stronger and give it more lore, and given the amount of boost support in this set, you could get this guy pretty big. Unfortunately, your opponent can just attack it whenever they want, and it only starts at 4, so we'll give it a B. Next up, we're going to talk about the Game Preserve, a 3-cost that has 4 willpower and produces 2 lore every turn. It also says, while there's a character with evasive here, this location gains evasive. If you're running an evasive heavy deck, this location will be pretty good. There are a fair amount of cards with alert though, so get this out earlier if you want it to have any kind of effect. Lore value of 2 also paints a target on this thing's back. I'm going to give it a C, but if you can make it work, it's a B. Following that is the Frozen Vine, a 3-cost that has 4 willpower and produces 2 lore when questing. It says, when this location is banished, if there was an exerted character here, return this card from your discard to your hand. Now, recursion is always good, and it produces 2 lore a turn, which is very nice, so I'm going to give this one a B. Our last location for this video is going to be Darkwing Tower, a 4-cost, 8 willpower that produces 1 lore every turn that says, during your turn, whenever an opposing villain character is banished, you may ready a character here. If you do, they can't quest for the rest of this turn. This is a good way to protect your characters from being challenged, but that means you would need to be challenging opponents. And the cards that you defeat have to be villains. I'm going to give this one a D. Moving on to the actions, we're going to start with the Winterspell, a 1-cost action that says chosen location of yours can't be challenged until the start of your next turn. Draw a card. This is a good way to ensure that any locations you do get are heavily protected. And even if you're not protecting your locations very well, you do get to draw a card. I'm giving this one a C. Next up is Keep the Ancient Ways, a 2-cost inkable song that says opponents can't play actions or items until the start of your next turn. This is a good way to control the board if you're worried about what your opponent is doing, and can help protect your characters from being damaged outside of a challenge. Probably going to see play in evasive strategies. I'm going to give it a B. Our next action is going to be Wipeout, a 2-cost inkable action that says put chosen character with bodyguard or item into their player's inkwell face down and exert it. Now, this is a good way to get rid of bodyguards as well as items if your opponent is heavily dependent on them. I'm going to give it a C in most strategies, but a B if you're playing really aggressive. Then we're going to move on to Education or Elimination, a 4-cost song that says choose one, draw a card, chosen character of yours gets +1 lore and gains evasive until the start of your next turn, or banish chosen damaged character. This is a good way to protect a character, but if you sing this song, you could have just quested with them to get the lore, unless you use a reckless character. But if you have that many reckless characters, you probably don't care too much about the evasive bonus. On the other hand, banishing a damaged character with just a song is pretty good, so I'll give it a C. Following that is Wisdom of the Willow, a 4-cost uninkable action that says for the rest of this turn, whenever one of your characters quests, you may draw a card. I'm a simple man. I love card draw in a limited format, and in a character-heavy strategy, that's exactly what this is. You'll be drawing cards for just doing what you were gonna do anyway. I'm gonna give it a B. Our last action for the video is Grab Your Bow, a 5-cost uninkable song that says banish up to 2 chosen characters with 2 strength or less. Exerting a 5-cost character to banish 2 little guys may not be that great, but there's enough low power characters in this set that this becomes pretty useful pretty easily. I'm going to give it a B. Let's get the items started with Lonely Grave, a 1-cost inkable item that says exert and banish chosen character of yours. Put the top card of your deck face down under one of your characters or locations with boost. This card instantly upgrades any of your boost, but the cost is pretty steep. I'd say this is a B at the absolute best, but probably going to be a low C here. Next up is Hidden Trap, a 2-cost inkable item that says this item enters play exerted, and exert, banish this item, choose one, banish chosen item, or chosen opposing character gets -2 strength this turn. A decent way to get rid of an opponent's items, or a cheap way to weaken an opponent. Unfortunately, it's a one-shot either way, so I'll give it a C. Let's keep it moving with Mother's Necklace, a 2-cost uninkable item that says, at the end of your turn, if none of your characters challenge this turn, chosen character of yours gains evasive until the start of your next turn. If all you're doing is questing, you're going to need some evasive, and this is a good way to protect them if you don't have it. I'll give it a B. Let's go with Rafiki's Bakura Staff next, a 2-cost uninkable item that says exert, pay 1, draw a card, then choose and discard a card. Or, pay 1 and banish this item, deal 1 damage to chosen character. Either deal a damage or draw a new card. Not great, but could work in an item deck. Probably a C at the best. Next is Darkwing's Gas Device, a 3-cost inkable item with exert, pay 1. Chosen character gets -1 strength this turn. If you have a character named Darkwing Duck in play, chosen character gets -2 strength this turn instead. Weakening a character just before you challenge it in a way that's repeatable and consistent. I'm going to give this a C. Our last item is going to be Snowfort, a 3-cost uninkable item that says your characters get +1 strength, and during your opponent's turns, your characters gain resist +1. This is a great way to protect your characters while also making them stronger, and pretty good in any character-heavy strategies. I'm going to give this one a high B. That's it for our rating today. Let me know what you think in the comments, and tell me how you do at your local tournaments. Always remember, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.